All right, good evening, everybody. System Shock here with the 134th episode of our first run through the House of Light expansion for Book of Hours, playing as the archaeologist, and I have neglected the hirelings for too long, so we're going to do our best to try and get a hired miner to open up the mazed cell, and then if that succeeds today, we will hire another one to open up the slithering fountain. But I am sort of up against it as far as the time is left for the rest of the day. Now the good news is the only real obligation I have for today is the forge text that I'm trying to read here, and it's a little bit of a remote chance, if I'm honest. Hang on, I should be reading. Yes, so one thing I'll maybe do is prepare for leveling up purifications and exaltations, so I will just queue up a few more books here. Maybe I'll leave the Faust aside because I think I need to... Well, actually, you can use the core. I did Singlefoot songs, so oops. I'll also drop some water. We'll read everybody's favorite, Intimations of Skin. So that should give me 5 for purifications and exaltations to start off with. I mean, maybe I have enough to be able to get a second, but we'll maybe have a clearer idea of that at the time. This doesn't feel too wasteful in terms of the overall use of the elements of the soul, but I may want to hold back and see what's up for the rest. But yeah, for what we're going to focus on now is the miner, and I want to, as usual, I'm going to put a few of the different items that are renewable in first. And then we'll think about whether or not it's worth putting the cuckoo honey in. So, in spring, the local miners often travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for a day. So, while I'm at it, I can earn some more money at the Sweet Bones. We'll start with the health. Thus they more or less ruled themselves, with the help of their wild Celtic temperament, made wilder by the hardness of their lives and the truly ghastly conditions under which they worked. With all this, it is not to be wondered that the Tinners acquired the reputation of being scarcely human, but it must be remembered that among them at all times were those whose characters could stand comparison with the best of men. Russell Muirhead. I'm ready to lend my limbs, boosts heart, scale, and nectar. So we'll do that. We'll also use the serpent-style glass, and then we'll see where the rest of this goes. Moth's gift or mine? So ideally I use this before the next salon, otherwise it's kind of a waste. But of course we are going to be trying to level up transformations and liberations before too long, so maybe that time will come sooner than I think. Probably didn't do a good thing by reading this at Caller's desk. It's very easy for me to forget stuff that I do there. I'm going to skip over the familiar passage here now just because we've read. I'll do the same with Intimations of Skin. I usually do like rereading because I often do find something new on each rereading, but I also know I'm prone to forgetting a couple of important steps right now, so this is going to be just a way that I can preserve my my run. Okay, so I don't think this gives me 2 scale. It definitely doesn't. So we will use the serpent-style glass. Carved snakes writhe down the frame. A prominent inscription reads, "To the librarian Gervinus in earnest of our wager." I can lend my assistants something to help increasing their abilities. So we're up to 4. We need 10 more. So the earthquake name will get me 6. Actually, yeah, the funny thing about this is, so the earthquake name is 6, the cuckoo honey is 3, so that gets me 9, so I really just need one more scale. So we should be good. The Perugian Diaries. In 1907, at the age of 18, Christopher Olapoli left Strathcoyne's household to study theology at the University of Perugia in Italy, enrolling under the name Christopher Strathcoyne. For 4 years since his adoption from a Bristol orphanage, Olapoli served as Strathcoyne's pupil and protege, but his relationship with this austere and secretive man was always complicated. His journal confides, "I still think Fraser's intentions are good, certainly he agrees, but I never understood the final goal of his investigations. He was never prepared to enlighten me, and good intentions or not, I can no longer bear the stream of eyes. We have agreed to part almost amicably." Olapoli left Perugia in 1909 without completing his degree. He had long lost interest in his studies, and the latter half of his journal is concerned with his studies of Umbrian folk songs and notes towards his own compositions, which are of widely varying quality. One of the better ones, In the Marshes of Night, suggests he visited the site of Old Lake Fucinus near Ortuccio. I think I said I was going to skip Intimations of Skin. Old Copper-Nose and the Softer Metal, a disgraceful compendium of ribald poetry about the habits and corruptions of Henry VIII. Henry's great misfortune, his crushing injury in a jousting bout, has left him unable to stand any straighter than a splintered withy. The most savage mockery is reserved for Henry's great debasement, where the corruption of his softer metal is supposed to have crept into the coin of the realm. The last and most serious lampoon makes seditious references to the Crucible Revolution. So that one's not intended for the purifications and exaltations. Unhatched hymns attributed to St. Lucia the Eyeless, patron of glassworkers, and name of the hour called Meniscate. The hymns celebrate every sanctioned hour, celebrating them as the sun undivided, but also suggesting that each hour may become the next, madrigad to watchman, watchman to wolf, and so on. The Hymn of the Phases celebrates the Meniscate from whom we do not turn, for the truth which is beauty, the beauty which is truth, and the perfect balance between the two. The Hymn of the Reflections, more puzzlingly, celebrates the Meniscate as the sister of Janus, mother of Shadow, whose visage wondrous in emptiness can reveal all truths. And with keeper level scale, an old moment can lead to an earthquake name. That's no good. That kills me, actually. No, it doesn't, because we've got the inescapable confinement still, but I want to find out what went wrong here. Nothing went wrong. I just got a little bit ahead of myself. Okay, so we're going to sleep on the old moment tonight. Yep, nope, everything's good. Also, it doesn't quite kill me because I could just take advantage of the cuckoo honey and the Strathcoyne whiskey. Still, we'll be careful. I think at this point I'm okay throwing more elements of the soul at the sweet bones. This tool has boosted their aspects appropriately. I also think at this point I can put the cuckoo honey in. Offer something to eat. I can offer my assistants something to eat. This will increase their aspects. It's also just friendly. I guess this counts as something to eat, so I need to worry about drink next. And here, so element of the soul is best. Okay, actually going to throw the memory at it too, so we're good. I think I'll just take the first opportunity because both stuff also things and memory, both of those are going to take me over the edge, and I have what I need for the purifications and exaltations. Speak half a syllable and feel the beast stir half a coil. So I'm curious here. Because this is a persistent memory, I'm thinking maybe I can get away with trying to I feel okay using the metal here. Actually, I feel even better using the shaft. I did go a little crazy using the Essential Paras, but again, it's just, I keep hoarding all of this stuff anyway. It probably doesn't hurt to let go every once in a while. Okay, so I feel comfortable enough now that I can throw the Earthquake name at him. And because that's going to take 30 seconds, I know that I'm going to be able to put another one of the scale items. I suppose in an ideal world I would find a drink with one scale, which I do have in some of the wine. Oh, you know what? I can pour a glass of Domaine Reveline, I guess. Pour it out. Let me just make sure that that's... Yep, that's at 15. And then in 30 seconds we should be able to feed the wine and be ready to go. A Descent of the Shell, a treatise on eggs, light, and optics by Abbess Melissenth, dazzlingly illuminated with renderings of the Abbess's visions. The book is unexpectedly challenging to read. The bright glitter of the gold leaf illuminations acquires a migrainous quality. The eye aches and tires. This is most likely the certain vivid book that Melissenth once sent to Gunhild, daughter of King Harold, which provoked in her a dream of eyes, but also caused her to begin to lose her sight until she was healed by the Saint Bishop Wulfstan. To complete it is a kind of test. Its double thesis, at least, seems to be that the sun is either an eye or an egg, and so the second dawn will be either its opening or its hatching. So there's the two purifications and exaltations we were expecting. We got a foresight out of that after all was said and done. Which is maybe not so bad because it does mean I have shelf space for it without having to push things around. So we'll take purifications and exaltations. I guess I can keep this foresight overnight, but maybe it would make more sense for me to keep the confounding parable because it lets me do more. And so I was thinking a little bit about the placement, and I think I'm actually going to keep purifications and exaltations at 6, and that's because I'm pretty sure the top 3 slots I've accounted for, and that actually tells me a couple of other things as well, because I think previously I'd said that Menascate Reflections was going to go on the illumination line as well, so that could potentially be a candidate for 5. It doesn't have to be 5 though. What are the others that I've got here? So I've got Watchman's Paradoxes at 3, and I've got Applebright Euphonies at 3. If you're wondering where those are coming from, 1, partly memory, 2, I did write a few of these down. So as I've been kind of going through candidates for the Tree of Wisdoms, and I've started to see some things which could go sort of one way or the other, I do tend to make a note. So essentially, when I run into something that I know will go to, say, Illumination in this case, or any of the others, and that largely comes from the fact that, you know, like Hushery's kind of spoken for, Nyctodromy's kind of spoken for. There's a few where it's easy to say that it's easier to say where some things are not going. I try to move those where I can. But with all of that said, I can actually see now it wouldn't hurt for me to start moving a few of these into sort of a better spot. So if, for the sake of the argument, purifications and exaltations is a 6, maybe I would put something like Watchman's Paradoxes closer to a 5, just because I've got the 1 slot. And then we work from there. So essentially what I'm kind of doing here is preserving Meniscate Reflections for a, a lower branch. Although, maybe I use whatever surplus for Edicts Martial, elsewhere. Again, a lot of it depends on how I use this overflow. But in this case here, I think I'm going to now treat Purifications and Exaltations as something that's a free slot. And again, we're actually surprisingly close to finishing my to-read list. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and say that that's the game plan. So I'm going to take Watchman's Paradoxes. That's Lantern and Sky. And of course, that's pretty easy for me to work out in terms of books to read. I still get to keep my confounding parable. So if anything, I'm actually ahead for tomorrow. Alright, memories don't last long outside books, but it's made a difference for the day. So looks like I still need the 2 scale anyway. Did I forget something here? Doesn't really matter because we have the whiskey to work with. A nice drop. I can offer my assistant something to drink. Oh, hang on. We needed 14. That's why. I can offer my assistant something to drink. I'll use metal in this case, because the Faust and the Whist could potentially open up the... could allow me to level up the Purifications and Exaltations. And I haven't really thought about a Salon yet, but that's not... I don't know, that's... I'm kind of at the point here where I don't need to worry that much about how the Salon's going to work out. It just sort of does. Now in this case here, I've more or less committed Purifications and Exaltations to the tree at this point. So I'm just going to let that sit there. In about, I guess, 30 seconds, we'll get what we need to apply that to Watchman's Paradoxes, which I suppose I can also turn into a slight move ahead of time. Not immediately clear where I'm going to put that in the list, so... And I did say I was going to open up the mazed cell first, so... A leathery burgundy mesentery has spread out and around the doorway of this cell. Chitin? Fungus. It crumbles beneath my hands, emitting choking fumes. It will be impossible to enter the cell without clearing it. I don't really see what I can get out of Denzel right now, but we'll still chat with him. Get one more for the day. Yeah, overall, I'm feeling pretty good about this because I can pay... So we've got less than a minute left to get the remaining Earthquake name, which is good. So I've got a head start for opening up the Slithering Fountain. And then I should be in a position to be able to read... I mean, it's a question in terms of which one I want to do. Maybe I hold off on the transformations and liberations until I have a clear game plan for those. Which I suppose then invites the question, well, can I even open in the mountains as upon the plain there is a path where, there may not be a path where none has passed, because that definitely doesn't give me sky. So it could be that I actually need to start making some final decisions in terms of these other skills. At the very least, though, I could also start pillaging some of the overflow that I have here. Like, it's kind of funny I say that I'm finishing up my to read list, because first of all, 5 books is not nothing, but on top of that, I've got rooms of extra books to read, and that's purely going to be stuff that fuels my tree of wisdoms. So at some point, I do actually need to figure out what I'm doing with those. I'll skip over Singlefoot Songs. I will read Opening the Sky, though, because I haven't read it. I don't want to do too much skipping, but I do want to try and get to the end of spring while I've got my plan in mind. So, Opening the Sky, an unusual recording of Varro's Opening the Sky, composed for the coronation of the new king, Henry IX. The record bears the suppression stamp Expunge. The first movement is soft, autumnal, the second unsettling, febrile, the third is bright, soaring, rapturous, the fourth movement is glassy, slithering, a tintinnabulous icicle rattle. The fifth returns to the theme of the third, bright and rapturous once again, but this is a choral movement. It becomes apparent, though, that these are much, much too pure and high to be human voices. They recall birdsong, they recall the sweep of the windswept sky, blue turning black against the edge of the higher heaven, and they wrench the heart in a direction the Bureau does not permit. Okay, so I'm committing to the Watchman's Paradoxes now. Another fruit plucked from knowledge's tree. Now, obviously, if I'd planned the day a little bit better, the Fete and the Tryst could have been used at Crowcross Sands and the moor and such. But on the other hand, I'm starting to get a pile outside the house on the bridge. Okay, so the intuition doesn't convince me that it's worth more than the confounding parable, so I'll lock that in there. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So first thing tomorrow, we're going to hire the miner. We should just be able to equip them with the memory, the health, and the tool, right? Actually, yeah, we should have most, if not all, of what we need ready to go. The skill is now level 4. Its power aspects have also increased. So maybe what I should do is think... Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to refrain from reading one of those books, unless I can somehow get the Sky book read. Speak half a syllable, and feel the beast stir half a coil. Everything comes when it is called, even the nightmares that trouble stone's deep sleep. So what I might do, I'll see what I can get from reading In the Mountains as Upon the Plain. But once that's taken care of, I think because we may get hit with Numa, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to do transformations and liberations right away. And here's the room. Cell? Question mark. This was the last prisoner to be admitted to the jail, but only the date has been recorded. No record of its origin, crime, or arrest remains. Collars was a man of many secrets. Sometimes, however, he was also a generous man, and he insisted it be provided with a bed and with writing materials, should it ever feel the need for them. So, Ruby Wise Ruin, a ruddy liquor wrung from flowers, even when the flowers aren't red. Azamil, a silver ink that can only be made and used in dreams, an ink of revelation. A vase of lilies, an elegant ornament. Chrysalis, something might emerge. It could only be, if it could be assured of a hospitable history. Until that time, its dreams might be audible to one who presses an ear against its trembling, sky-scented warmth. And then here we have the impermeable cell. A sign outside the cell reads, "Warning, not to be spoken with nor looked upon." The protections that still hang in the air lend force to the injunction. So 15 Forge, 15 Knock, or 15 Sky. Definitely one of the more difficult rooms for us to get into. Memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. In spring, the local miners travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for a day. Alright. Get to work right away with the earthquake name. Should probably... probably make use of the Sweet Bones too. To be completely honest, I don't have a whole lot to do today in terms of tasks. I think like getting the miner to where I needed them was one. I guess the question for me was where I was going to put Sky Stories. So definitely it won't be a 2. Well, and I mean, it's not going to be Horror Macastry, so for Birdsong needs at least 4, but could go much higher. Okay, so there's a good argument for me to read In the Mountains as Upon the Plain. There may not be a path where none has passed. The question is if I have what it takes. So let's reach as far as we can and see what's possible. Because, of course, this is one that I can bring the Mazarine Fife to bear on. So, I'll take back. This is an ideal one for me to do because Sky Stories is such a low level that I can make some good progress with it. I think Sacralamea is my best Sky. No, Sights and Sensations should be. Yeah, so you know what? I don't even need to give up... Or, no, I do need to give up Daidumos, but it is absolutely worth it. So, I can master this mystery. Enough Sky to match Mystery Sky. So while I do that, let's see if I can turn the Ascendant Harmony into a Daidumos without using... yeah, I do need the Fife. Okay, that's fine. It's also not the end of the world if I don't get it back, although clearly if we're going into... well, hang on. So if I do the Foss, the Ascendant Harmony, the Sacralamea, so I can add a Sun. Yeah, so then I just need one Sky. Well, yeah, we do the Confounding Parable and we have the Daidumos. So then the Ascendant Harmony is a bit easier for me to get just through the Mazarine Fife. And I think because I clearly have more elements of the soul than I really know what to do with, I think I'm going to go a little more aggressively to places like Crowcross Sands and the more... I'm not maybe so worried about gardening. We definitely made quite a bit of progress with that. I think I can afford 90... Yeah, 90 I should be okay. Oh, I forgot. We also got a package, so let's open that up. What ship lost this? Yeah, so a little bit more of a relaxed day, but we can manage. So I don't feel too bad about using cuckoo honey again, just because we are really getting... Actually, that's one thing I should probably be doing more of. So the funny thing is I ordered that Strathcoin whiskey without really... without appreciating that we weren't actually going to use that. Anyways, that's fine. We'll open it up when we can. But yeah, so I'll use this cuckoo honey. Will probably be one extra for the miner, but that's fine. A nice drop. I can offer my assistant something to drink. Actually, if that's 11, I can just feed them the honey and then we're good to go. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. And because we'll be done with the miner... I mean, maybe we chat for a little while before I open up the slithering fountain. I realize I am at the end of the time, but I think we've got enough... We've got enough progress in the book. Well, actually, you know what? I'm not going to feel too bad if I have something to read at the start of the next stream, so maybe we just leave it there. Okay, so what do we have to look forward to next week? Well, one, opening up the delivery from TRN Limited. So, number one, opening up the Slithering Fountain. Number two, leveling up Sky Stories. I actually think that one might get to level 5, because I believe once we get to 18, we get 3 lessons. But we're early enough in the day that I don't think we should have too much trouble. I'm a little curious to see how the... So it's all well and good for me to say I want to level up Sky Stories, but it is... I do actually want to... Actually, no, the FET will save me on that. So I've got 3 there. But yeah, so as long as I can generate the memories, I'll be fine. And then, assuming that we don't get hit with a Numa, I'll want to plan a Salon, and then... I think probably I'm going to put quite a bit of effort into planning out the final levels of transformations and liberations. So my best guess here would be I try to find a way to read Inam Kapinglingper Garki Krippus. From there, I would get the level 8 and then level 9 for transformations and liberations, at which point Hokabald's book becomes a free one. In fact, I think the implication of that would be the Queens of the Rivers is the only one that wouldn't be a free one. I'm slightly tempted to actually just put my deeds, my powers on this shelf to start. But I'll resist the temptation. But yeah, I think in practical terms, as long as I can read this one, this will get transformations and liberations up to level 9. I think I'll probably just keep preliminal meter where it was, because that was going to go into illumination, and I had a 6 in place with purifications and exaltations. So if these two are locked in place, then the Queens of the Rivers is the only one where I want to figure out where Path and Pilgrim goes. And I think one thing that's kind of funny is this is the one that I've been waiting on for the longest, and I still don't think I've actually figured out where I want to put it. But that's fine, because that we'll figure out in the next broadcast. And then, sorry if I didn't say that before, but we'll also open up the Slithering Fountain. But I'm pretty sure I already said that. So, like I said, lots to do. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you on Monday. Have a nice weekend. Until then, take care.